The hundreds of people who participated in the Philharmonic Marathon this weekend are probably just now recovering from a frantic and ultimately disappointing Friday and Saturday here in Kansas City. The goal of saving the 1982 Philharmonic Orchestra season is a failure, but not before some valiant efforts were offered. The climax of several days' work to save Kansas City's orchestra was a telephone marathon at the Uptown Theater Friday and Saturday. There were still a few parking spaces around the Uptown Friday night. The theater's marquee advertised the marathon. Parked outside were television remote vans from Channel 4 here in Kansas City. Channel 4 carried some of the marathon live. Television engineers were scurrying between their trucks and the theater. Once inside, you could see several tables toward the back of the theater, arranged nightclub style. People here were watching a band on stage play the music of Scott Joplin. Immediately in front of the section were the telephone solicitors and the announcing booth. The solicitors were both receiving telephone contributions and calling out in search of pledges.
How are you? I'm at the Uptown Theater helping the... No, Brad isn't having a party. We're down here at the Uptown Theater, and we need your help.
Two national television stars, the older brother in the series Leave It to Beaver, and the secretary receptionist from the old Bob Newhart show, were on hand to help Kansas City save its orchestra.
Hi there, I'm Tony Down.
And I am not the Beaver. I am Marcia Wallace.
And we want to welcome all of you to the Kansas City Philharmonic Telethon.
That's it. We're going to be here for hours and hours. We're going to be here at 6 o'clock tomorrow. Well, look, 6 o'clock.
It was going to be a long and eventually unsuccessful marathon.
Uptown Theater, Broadway and 35th.
The final chapter of this ordeal began 3 p.m. Saturday. The marathon was drawing to a close, and the Kansas City Philharmonic Association Board and several of the orchestra musicians began meeting behind closed doors to discuss the fate of the orchestra's 1982 season. The meeting was long, 4 o'clock, and no sign of a decision. 5 o'clock, no decision. 6 o'clock. Word was received outside the door of the meeting that an announcement had been made at the marathon that the Philharmonic would not finish its season. People began slowly to leave the Uptown. But this was not the official word. The persons who would make that decision were still behind closed doors. At approximately 6:30 Saturday evening, the meeting concluded. First, the musicians emerged. Their moods ranged from depressed to outraged. Galen Umbarger, a percussionist with the orchestra, felt depressed.
I want to make it very clear that it's not the concert goers who caused this any more than it's the musicians. We have no grudge for the concert goers. We, of course, will play a concert for them tonight and play well.
Do you have a grudge?
The business community, school children, and the people off the street have raised $250,000 in the last 2 weeks. Business community has come up with nothing. What's there to say? They don't care. But, we're all depressed.
Lou Newman, a musician and chairman of the orchestra committee, was outraged.
It should be very clear to all of Kansas City, this board is inept. They cannot cut the mustard. They are attempting to dump on the city and dump on the musicians. We, the musicians, love the city. The city has come across with the grassroots efforts that has been felt by every person in the orchestra, and we appreciate that and we acknowledge that.
So in conclusion, the board of directors of the Kansas City Philharmonic decided over the weekend to suspend operations despite a telethon which raised nearly $172,000 for the financially strapped orchestra. The decision brought the Philharmonic's 49th season to a close 13 weeks early. For KCUR-FM, this is Gary Edwards.